Topic 4 would be options for organizing small and large businesses. At the end of this topic, students will be able to distinguish between small and large businesses, discuss the economic and social contributions of small businesses, compare the advantages and disadvantages of small business, describe how small business administration assists small business owners, explain how franchising can provide opportunities for both franchisors and the franchisees, summarize the 3 basic forms of business ownership, identify the types of corporations, describe trends in mergers and acquisitions, and differentiate among private ownership, public ownership, and cooperatives. Business organizations operate in different forms and sizes. The choice of the form and the size depends on the management capabilities, current market situations, and many related factors. Each such form has its own advantages and disadvantages, which need to be analyzed before making a decision. Small organizations may be startup firms and grow in size as better opportunities get identified. Growth signifies prosperity and conducive environment. Large organizations coexist with small operators as complementary to each other due to the interdependence of one another. An organization can take the form of a sole proprietorship, partnership, or corporation, which is legally accepted business entities. Forms can also change with change in situations. Franchising, acquisitions, and mergers can also be some ways of operating business activities. Hence, governments and legal bodies help and regulate business houses, but at the same time provide wide choices to administer such organizations well within the capabilities of the investor community. Now, what are the small and large businesses? Let us first of all understand a small business. It is a firm that is independently owned and operated and not dominant in its field and meets industry-specific size standards for income or number of employees. 98% of such businesses have fewer than 100 employees. They may earn business income without any employees, and almost half the sales in US are already made by small businesses. The annual sales and the number of employees determine whether or not it is small or not. If $500,000 to $25 million is sales, then it could be categorized as a small business. If the number of employees fall within 100 to 1500, then yes, it is a small business. However, there are specifics depending on industry. Manufacturing firms that have fewer than 500 workers, wholesalers who employ fewer than 100 employees, retailers and service industries that generate less than 5 million in sales, and annual sales less than 500,000 in agriculture are also known as small businesses. Most non-farming small businesses have been concentrated in retailing in the service industry. Typical small business ventures that we see nowadays are the dentists, home builders, florists, etc. Almost half of small businesses in the US are home-based businesses, that is, firms that operate from the residence of the business owner himself. Such small businesses can adopt many profiles, that is, from part-time home-based businesses to firms with several hundred employees. Small businesses operate in every industry, but wholesale trade, agricultural service, and construction feature the highest proportion of small businesses. Small businesses have competed against the world's largest organization and endless other small companies. Non-farming small businesses have been concentrated in retailing and service industries, but they also provide the majority of jobs in construction, agricultural service, and wholesale trade. Retailing is actually an attractive basis to form a small business because of the low startup cost and easy access to space and low need for highly trained employees. So what are large organizations? They are business entities that are either corporations or multinational companies. They have huge turnover and profits and have wider customer base, and their impact is significant in the industry. Though large in size, they have their own limitations and hence are dependent on small businesses. Example, a large garment factory may be dependent on a small business that make buttons and clips. Economic and social contributions of small businesses. First, they create new jobs. Small businesses create most of the new jobs in the US economy, and they employ majority of the US workers. They also create new industries. They provide valuable outlets for entrepreneurial activity and often contribute to creation of new industries or development of new business processes. They attract new industries. Women and minorities find small business ownership to be an attractive alternative to opportunities available to them in large firms. Small businesses may also offer enhanced lifestyle flexibility and opportunities to gain personal satisfaction. If you look at the advantages and disadvantages of the small businesses, we see that many a times forms of organization, market positions, staff capabilities, managerial styles, organizational structures, financial resources, they all seem to be like advantages, but actually they are the differences when compared to large businesses. Certain real-time practical advantages could be identified as follows. And the first one is known as the innovation. It is needed in order to compete with larger corporations. Small businesses are often fertile ground in which to plant innovative ideas for new goods and services. In a typical year, small firms develop twice as many product inventions or innovations per employee as larger firms. They also obtain more patents per sales dollar. Example, startup business to offer online bookstore shopping and delivery. They typically develop twice as many product inventions per employee as large firms, and they also obtain more patents per sale dollar than large businesses. Lower cost. Small firms usually have minimal overhead as compared to larger organizations. Often small businesses are operated out of owner's home, thus eliminating rent and utility expenses, and they carry little inventory and is a leaner organization with smaller staff, and the quality and the quantity of work done by the owner tends to be very high and family members often contribute. Example, small retailers can prepare sales flyers on a PC. They can also provide goods and services at a price that large firms cannot match. Their overhead costs are also minimized. The next comes the superior customer service. Small firms can operate with great flexibility, and they can tailor product lines and services to the needs of the customer. Example, like free alterations on clothing purchase from a small boutique. They can also allow tailoring of product lines and services according to the customer needs. Filling isolated niches. Small businesses are better able to service small, otherwise underserved customer niches. Certain types of businesses prefer to work with small organizations because of personal relationship can move easily to be fostered. Economic and organizational factors may dictate that an industry consists primarily of small firms. Example could be to specialize in selling products designed for left-handed customers. But there are certain disadvantages also. Management shortcomings could be the first one. The business owners may have much strength in terms of creating a vision of interpersonal relationship, but they may suffer from deficiencies in areas of finance or other business function areas. Specialized staff cannot be hired for each separate area or need. Thus, a generalized staff must be utilized to fulfill a large functional area. And many small business owners go into profession with little professional business training or education, assuming that they can rely upon on-the-job training to fill up any gaps in their skills. Owners often hesitate to turn to consultants for advice in areas where they lack knowledge or experience, and they are unable or unwilling to recognize their weakness or limitations. In their rush to start their business, they may overlook vital aspects of the firm, such as marketing research. Frequently, they struggle with the rose-colored glass syndrome. That is, the other side is pink. Inadequate financing. Entrepreneurs and small business owners often believe that the initial sales will create enough revenue to keep the business going. However, initial costs are often much higher than anticipated. Inaccurate assumptions about costs and expenses are made. Uneven cash flows are also difficult to manage. And banks are typically reluctant to make loans because of the business having no history and there being few assets. The source of debt financing are often those with higher interest rates, such as credit card advances. And inadequate financing also makes attracting and keeping talented people more challenging. Too often new business owners assume that they will generate enough funds in the first few weeks or months to finance and continue with their operations. Government regulations. The cost of managing paperwork is enormous, and the cost to hire staff or outsource the work required is prohibitive. Small business owners often complain bitterly of excessive government regulation and red tape. Paperwork cost accounts for billions of small business owners each day. Due to these constraints, smallest companies are often exempt from following certain government regulations. And many small business owners follow all regulations due to their belief that doing so is more ethical. Taxes are also burdensome for small businesses. So here comes into the picture an organization or a federal organization called Small Business Administration, which is also known as the SBA. It is a federal agency that assists small business by providing management training and consulting, financial advice, and support in securing government contracts. The US Small Business Administration helps small business owners to obtain financing through a variety of programs that guarantee repayment of their bank loans. The SBA also assists women and minority business owners in obtaining government purchasing contracts. It offers training and information resources so business owners can improve their odds of success. Finally, the SBA also advocates small business interest within the federal government. As far as financial assistance from Small Business Administration is concerned, it seldom provides small business loans, but rather provides guarantee for small business loan made by private lenders, including banks and other institutions. Let us look at the franchising alternative. Franchising is a contractual agreement that specifies the methods by which a dealer can produce and market a supplier's goods or services. A franchisor is a company that sells the rights to use its brand name, operating procedures, and other intellectual property to franchisees. Franchising helps business owners to expand their company's operations with limited financial investments. Franchisees are the individuals who buy the right to operate a business using the franchisor's intellectual property, gain a proven business system, brand recognition and training, and other support from the franchisor. If you look at the franchising agreement, there are two parties as already been identified, the franchisee and the franchisor. It is between them that such an agreement is formed. The benefits and the problems of franchising. If you look at the benefits or the advantages, it is a prior performance record. It has a recognizable company name, a business model that has been proven successful. It is a tested management program, and business training is possible. But the advantages are, it could be expensive, especially for the fee and for the future payments from the point of view of the franchisee. And the fact that the franchisee is linked to the reputation and the management of the franchise is another cause of concern, and the potential unsuitability of the business to the franchisee. Let us look at the forms of business organizations now. A sole proprietorship is owned and operated by one person. Although sole proprietorships are easy to set up and offer great operating flexibility, the owner remains personally liable for all of the firm's debts and legal settlements. It is the most common form of business ownership and also the simplest and the oldest. There are no legal distinctions that separate a sole proprietor's status as an individual from his status as a business owner. Common in all industries, however, concentrated in certain industries such as repair shops, small retail outlets, service and other providers. Advantages: easy to form and dissolve. Management flexibility. The owner retains the right to all profits after payment of personal income tax. Owners are motivated to maximize efficiency because of their individual stake in profits, and there is minimal in legal requirements for entering and also to exit. Disadvantages are the owner's financial liability for all debts of the business. The owner's personal funds and borrowing limit the financial resource of the business, and the owner must handle a wide range of management and operational tasks, and the sole proprietorship lacks long-term continuity when the owner dies, retires or changes the personal interest, and the company ends up, and this aspect of lack of continuity can make potential customer leery about making major purchases. In a partnership, two or more individuals agree to share responsibility for owning and running the business. Partnerships are relatively easy to set up, but they do not offer protection from liability. Also, partnerships may experience problems if a partner dies or when partners fail to communicate or establish effective working relationship. It is an association of two or more persons who operate a business as co-owners by voluntary legal agreement. This organizing alternative was the traditional form for professionals such as physicians, lawyers, and dentists. Today, most of these individuals have switched to other organizing forms to limit their personal liability. Advantages include easy to form, legal requirements are simple, registering the name and obtaining necessary licenses are applicable in a very simple form, offers expanded financial capabilities and also increased access to borrowing funds compared to sole proprietorship. Professionals have the opportunity to combine areas of expertise, skill and knowledge. But the disadvantages include unlimited financial liability by the owners, and each partner bears full responsibility for any debts. Each is legally liable for actions of other partners, and if one partner wants to leave, the other partner may have to purchase the remaining portion of the company or risk sale to someone else, and upon death of one partner, a new partnership must be formed, and the estate of the deceased is entitled to a share of the firm's value. In some states, partners can minimize the risk by organizing as limited liability partnerships. When a business is set up as a corporation, it becomes a separate legal entity. Individual owners receive shares of stock in the firm, and corporations protect owners from legal and financial liability. But double taxation actually reduces their revenues. The advantages include that the stockholders or the owners have only limited financial risks. If firms fail, they lose only the money they invested. This protection also applies to legal risk. They can draw upon the specialized skills of many employees. Except if a small business corporation, employees can develop even more specialized skills and specialize in their own effective tasks and gain access to expanded financial capabilities. Disadvantages include double taxation, the corporation, federal, state and local taxes, and then the owners have to pay income tax on stock dividend earnings, and the number of laws and regulation affecting corporations in much more complex. That is too much of paperwork. The types of corporations. The first one is known as the domestic corporation. It is a firm which is considered domestic in a state where it is incorporated, meaning to say where it has got its registered office. A foreign corporation is a company that does business in a state other than the one where it has filed incorporation papers, and it is registered as a foreign corporation in each of those states. Alien corporation is a firm incorporated in one nation that operates in another, is where such a corporation could also be from a different country altogether. Let us identify certain recent trends in mergers and acquisitions. The worldwide pace of mergers and acquisitions continue to grow. US corporations are spending record amounts on mergers and acquisitions, and these business combinations occur worldwide, and companies often merge with or acquire other companies to aid their operations across national boundaries. Merger is a combination of two or more firms to form one company. And vertical mergers help a firm to ensure access to adequate raw materials and supplies for production or to improve its distribution outlets. Horizontal merger occurs when the firms in the same industry join in an attempt to diversify or offer expanded product lines. Acquisition. It is a procedure in which one firm purchases the property and assumes the obligation of another. Joint ventures. They are specialized partnerships, and it is a partnership between companies formed for a specific purpose or undertaking. Private ownership, public ownership, and cooperatives. Public ownership. It is an enterprise when a unit or agency of government owns and operates an organization. Municipal, state, and national governments also own and operate some businesses. This public business ownership has declined, however, through a recent trend towards privatization of publicly run organizations. Public ownership replacing private ownership of failed organization. Such operations are done when functions are considered so vital to public welfare that government often implements public ownership to protect its citizens from problems, and has been used to foster competition by operating public companies as competitive business enterprises. Government-owned corporations are used when private investors are not willing to invest in high-risk projects, or when private ownerships have failed, and when operating public companies can be used to foster competition. Cooperatives. They are organizations whose owners join forces to collectively operate all or part of the functions in the industry. In a cooperative, individuals or companies band together to be collectively operating or dealing in certain functions of the industry, and the owners control the activities by electing a board of directors from their own members. They are usually set up to provide for collective ownership of production, storage, transportation, or marketing organization that is important to an industry. So these different forms of organizations are available for a business to choose from. That should be the end of our topic 4, and we should be moving on to topic 5, starting your own business, the entrepreneurship alternative. Thank you.